Welcome back to GMA3. After months of speculation, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin says he will not launch a third-party bid for the White House.
Senator Manchin previously announced that he will not seek re-election to the Senate this fall, fueling rumors of an independent run. Well, here to discuss it all in an exclusive interview is West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin himself. Good to see you. And again, thank you for being on. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, DeMarco and Eva. It's good to be with you all.
Well, Senator, you have a reputation for being a politician who regularly votes outside of your party. Many were hopeful that you would make a run for president. Why are you not running for president? Why did you choose not to run for re-election?
Well, Eva, first of all, let me just say that the party never has guided me to where I felt like I had to just vote a party line. I've never done that. Yeah, I think you know that when I was the governor of the state of West Virginia, I brought people together all the time, Democrats and Republicans, to solve problems. So I don't look at the Republicans being on the other side or being my enemy. They're my friends and they're my colleagues, and they might have a different way of fixing a problem. We've become dysfunctional now to where truly you're supposed to pick a side, the other side's your enemy, and just go at it. And that's not how we became the country that we are, and it's not how we'll continue to be the superpower of the world. So that worries me tremendously. And when I start looking at how can I help my country more, what can I do, I decided I wasn't going to run again. I have come to the conclusion, watching what happened in Washington and trying to do everything I could, and we've had tremendous success for 14 years, but I thought if you're going to make the changes to save our country, it's going to come from outside of Washington, D.C. The business model of the Republican and Democrat Party is very strong and very controlling in Washington. But the central, or what I call the common sense middle, the sensible middle, where about 55% of all of us kind of live our lives. Center right, center left, not extreme right, not extreme left. But the extremes are sucking all the oxygen and leading the charge, and the people in the middle, which I include myself, and many of the people watching feel the same, homeless and helpless. What do? We got to pick a side. I don't like either side. But there's no place else to go. So we've entertained a third party. I've been involved with No Labels since the beginning, and they're wonderful people trying to do the right thing. I just didn't feel right for me, and I just got to the point where I didn't want to be in a situation that would be handicapping at one side or the other or be a spoiler, and I felt the time was right for me just to go out and try to get people involved in changing the primary process, how you get good people involved, not having to be subservient to the party, the political party. So we have, my daughter and I, Heather, started what we call Americans Together, trying to start a group that understands you can take charge and control. You've got the majority of the votes. 55 to 60% of the people are right where we are. They need a voice to speak out, and they'd be a tremendous voting bloc.
Senator, you have said in the past that you have never been more concerned about the threat to our democracy and the country that we are leaving our children and our grandchildren. You know, it's a big election year. On one hand, you got the president, the current president, who is being criticized because of his age and his ability to lead in the future. On the other hand, you have a former president who's running, who's facing a mountain of legal trouble. What concerns you most?
Well, I've been very clear. I know both men, and I've worked with both men, tried to work the best I could. And the only thing I've said, when you're in a position like a U.S. Senator, you should always, or elected position, you should always hope and pray that your president succeeds and does well, and you got to do everything you can to help him. And I've always tried to do that. But with Donald Trump, it makes it very, very difficult for him as a person who's really centered about himself, and looking at the betterment of the country and where we came from, how we become the country they are. I'll take a perfect example is our allies around the world, NATO allies especially, those who are willing to fight and die with us because they have our values of freedom and democracies, and they're willing to fight and die for that. And we've become the superpower of the world because of many nations around the world that have our values. And when you say that, hey, I'm going to throw you to the wolves, I could care less if you don't do this, there's other ways, and they are paying up. And I approve that the hardline position he took back when he was in term in 2017 to 2020, pay up, do your 2%. They're doing that and much more, and supporting, and Ukraine support. But the thing that really got me more than anything, Eva and DeMarco, was when I saw my Republican colleagues and friends, people I have the utmost respect for, The 3 days before, we're totally committed to doing a border security. And we have a great border security. And DeMarco, a fellow Oklahoman, James Langford, is one of the most decent human beings, most conservative, but extremely decent, and moral values are unbelievable, negotiated a bill that really secured our border. And because Donald Trump came out against it for political reasons, first of all, I've said, the border that we have today being unsecured is Joe Biden's fault. There's no other way to put it. His policies were wrong. He did it with the best of intentions, thinking he was helping some of the displaced people around the world after a pandemic, but they never shut it down, or they never controlled it quick enough, and it got out of hand, totally out of hand. He's finally come on board. He'd been negotiating and working and gave his stamp of approval on the bill we have before us, the bipartisan border security bill. And Donald Trump comes and says, oh no, that's not good right now. It would help me better if we don't do anything until after the election. We can't wait one more day. We need to get this done immediately. So Joe Biden was wrong in his policies. Donald Trump is even more dangerous by not wanting to fix something that's fixable.
Let's talk about this Congress, because it's going to go down in history for the most unproductive. You've been there for a while during more productive times. What is going on? And is there anything that can be done to fix it?
Well, you're right. You've hit it right on the head. They've only passed 39 bills. On an average 2-year of Congress, we pass 500 to 523 bills. It's about the average since when they've been keeping record on this. So this will go down as the least productive Congress in the history of the United States of America. And to be part of that is just so deflating. You know, we're so much good that we can do. The 117th Congress, which was the one 20 and 21, 22, will go down as the most productive, one of the most productive Congresses, because you know why? We were 50-50. You couldn't blame anybody. It's your fault. You know, we're together here. So if you want to do something, we've got to work collectively together, Democrats and Republicans, in the Senate. And we did that. We always got about 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans. Sometimes it grew to where we had 10 and 10, 20 of us, but always had our eye on the ball. How do we fix the problems we have? The Electoral Count Act, we did that when no one thought we could do it. The CHIPS Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill, and the Inflation Reduction Act, which will be the most, I think, most transformative bill that we've ever seen, bringing investments and rebuilding manufacturing back in America and reducing the cost of health care to all of our seniors. So we've done a lot of good things because we knew we had to work together.
Your Senate seat is expected to flip red this fall. Does that concern you?
Well, it concerns me, but I can't control. I mean, you know, your immortality, no matter what you may think, you have to start dealing with this. And here I am. I've been at this since 1982 in some form or another as a citizen legislature. Then I became full-time into the political arena in 2001 when I was Secretary of State. Then I was governor of the state of West Virginia. And now I've been Senate. I'm thinking Bob Byrd, we lost Bob Byrd in June of 2010. I wanted to finish my second term. I was 2 years from that. And when Bob Byrd died, the Senate seat opened up, and I felt, well, we had the state in good shape. Maybe I can go to Washington and help bring some common sense, because that's the way we worked in West Virginia. We don't blame people. We just try to fix what's wrong and make it better for people. And I've had the tremendous opportunity to serve, I think, the best people in the greatest state of the Union, in my beautiful state of West Virginia. And I've enjoyed every minute of it, but it's been challenging. And now I want to go out with Americans together and start teaching people how your voice can be heard. Use the power of your voting bloc. 55% of the people that are in the center left, center right, that are forced right now to pick a side, they don't like either side, and right now both parties aren't supportive of the candidate they have in front of them, and they have no other options. So we're looking at everything we can to help, and I just felt I could do more there.
I'm curious, I have to ask you, you haven't supported either candidate running for president, any candidates running for president currently. Do you plan to at some point down the road?
Well, I'm sure at some point I'm going to have to, because I've always participated ever since back when I started voting. You had to be 21. So I've been participating ever since I was of legal age to participate, and I'm not going to set any election out. Right now, I'm not endorsing anybody. I've said very publicly I could not, nor would I, support or vote for Donald Trump. I think it would be very detrimental to society and to our country, and most importantly, our standing in the world order. I feel very strongly about that. I wish he would change. I don't think that's going to happen. And I know that my state's very red, and he has a lot of support here, but I've got to be as truthful as I can, because I said if I can come home and explain it, I can vote for it. Well, if I can come home and explain it, I can tell you why I don't vote or support someone, and I can do that. And with Joe Biden, he's been pushed so far to the left. He's not the Joe Biden I've known for many years. Always kind of center left maybe, but center, not out of the boundary of the sensible middle. And he's been pushed so far to the left. We've got to see if he's going to come back and be the Joe Biden that we thought we elected in 2020. So there's a lot at stake right now, and there's a lot of people still in play. We have independents running. You've got no labels who are still intending to field a candidate, and we'll see what they produce. And I'm just going to basically try to explain to people, this country, the strength of our country is that we unite. We can always come together through a difficult time or crisis, and right now that's being challenged. The border has to be secured. The aid to Ukraine has to be done. We cannot let Putin be victorious there. And with that, think about if he is victorious in Ukraine, he will continue to move as his intention to bring former Mother Russia back before the collapse of the Soviet Union. He wants to bring that back. That means he'll be challenging our NATO allies and the Baltics especially. And that happens, we are committed to go to war with them. That means we put our own soldiers, our own men and women, in harm's way where their blood will be shed. I don't want that to happen, and I think supporting Ukraine is the best way for us to restore some order into a very unsettled world right now.
Senator, you've been in the public eye for more than 40 years as a leader. What do you think and what do you hope your legacy will be?
Well, I've done everything I thought that I could do to help, first of all, represent the people that I work for. I don't work for a Democratic Party or a Republican Party or anything in between. I work for the people of West Virginia. But I take an oath in my office to support and defend the Constitution. I take that as serious as anything I do. And I've always said this: if my country is doing well, my state will do well. If my state's doing well, that means my country is doing well. It goes hand in hand. So I've looked at everything I could do, helping our miners, making sure people understand, getting an energy policy that works. We're producing, DeMarco, more energy today than we ever have. You don't hear President Biden talking about that. He's talking about all the environmental things that have been done. And what I'm saying is you've got to have dependable, reliable, and affordable energy, dispatchable 24/7. And we're doing both. We're producing more energy, and we're investing in the new technologies for the future. Everyone's responsible to the climate. You cannot eliminate your way to a cleaner climate. You can innovate your way and teach the rest of the world. It's called global climate. It's not called West Virginia or United States climate. And we have to keep that. So I've been very much involved, chairman of the Energy Committee. I wrote on the IRA, the energy portion of that. I wrote $100 billion into the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which gives us a hydrogen hub here in West Virginia and 6 more around the country for new energy that can be dispatchable. And then getting the miners their long-term health care and their retirement benefits, lifetime, what they work for and paid for, finally are guaranteed. And with the Inflation Reduction Bill, we put capped $35 for insulin, life-saving insulin, that was going, the prices were just ridiculous. And on top of that, out of pocket next year, there won't be a person on Medicare that will ever pay more than $2,000 a year for medication, life-saving medication they need now that could be tens of $20,000 or more. So we've done a lot of things, I think, that's been helping. The most important thing on armed services, I've supported my troops, our troops, anywhere and everywhere in the world. We have the greatest military. They need to be supported. They need to know we have their back and never leave anyone behind. So I feel good and I've done everything I possibly can do. Now if I can just go around and tell people in America what you can do. You can demand, I want better primaries. I want to be able to have an open primary system. I want basically to have term limits. Think about this. A woman one time, very smart lady in West Virginia, said, Joe, we should have term limits. And this is 10 or 15 years ago, even probably when you were maybe still here helping us. And I said, well, I'm not sure. You might lose some of your more professional people. She said, think about this, Joe. If we had term limits, maybe we get one good term out of everybody. And I could not argue with that. She was exactly right then. I'm totally determined that we have to have a movement, a national movement for term limits in Congress so we can get good, sharp people that want to work together to understand how the fabric of America really does fit together.
All right, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, thanks a lot for coming on, and thank you, a special thank you to being so kind to a young reporter back in the day, Eva Pilgrim, answering our phone calls and all of that. We appreciate you.
Well, let me tell you one thing. She was determined. She was good, and she was determined, and she was tenacious. She would not quit. She kept coming after me all the time, and I loved that.
And look at her now. All right, thank you. We appreciate it.
Look at her now. Well, I'm proud of her, that's for sure.
All right, we all are proud of Eva.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.